Okay. Now let's go into the eloquence and beauty of this surah. So these are the 3 points. This is just an overview. Number 1, redefining our definition of success. Number 2, understanding that this is a minimum criteria just to barely pass. Number 3, understanding that all 4 must be done and that they are an organic whole that are all connected and related together. Now, this surah is very eloquent and it's put in such a way to create maximum emphasis. Any questions or comments so far? Before I'm going to go into a word by word now.
Just you came up with 2 examples, which is dicta and maybe boss. My boss was my father, and really he was like ordered me, and I was following his orders perfectly. He was my boss, but I have done that because I was love him and I was appreciate what he have done to me. So I think we have to appreciate what Allah has given us. Of course, I mean, what the brother is saying is very true, that in Islam we are looking for a balance. We are looking for a balance. A balance between hope for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the love and reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the same time, we are afraid from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His wrath and anger. Just like a bird has 2 wings, so too the believer has to have these 2 in balance. You can't have one. The bird cannot fly with 1 wing. And you cannot have 1 wing bigger than the other, because also the bird will not be able to fly. You have to have both in balance. But the scholars, they said there are times when we may emphasize one over the other. So for example, when we are young, they said it's good for us to emphasize janib al-khawf. We should emphasize the element of fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His punishment. Because when you're young, you tend to feel like you will live forever. You tend to feel like, I can turn back to Allah later. He's most merciful and most forgiving and most loving. So I have time. And then you also tend to be overcome by temptations and lusts more easily than when you're older. When you're older, they said, janib al-raja. The side of hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His forgiveness should overcome. Because you may be closer to death. You may be closer to meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having good assumptions of Him. So we have to understand that the Quran has to be taken as a complete book. We are only talking about 1 surah now. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in some surahs may threaten. In some surahs He may encourage. Targhib and tarhib. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may warn in some surahs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may inspire in other surahs. Do you understand? So when we in this surah feel a threat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not to motivate us to be so afraid of Allah that we sit down and we say, khalas, I can't do anything, I give up. No. It's to motivate us to say, I understand how dangerous the situation is, I have to wake up. So brother, you remind